Hello, orchestra students. Today we're going to be practicing vibrato for the violin and viola. And these are some steps that you can practice over the summer, anytime you want. These are basic steps. I'll tell you right now, vibrato takes several months to learn correctly, so be patient. Don't try to rush the process because you'll probably make some mistakes, and you don't want to come in to the next school year with anything amiss in your technique. So to start with, we're going to begin with some string polishes. So this is also a shifting exercise, but start sliding your hand gently up and down the fingerboard. And if you see this handle, this angle right here, you're going to be moving your entire hand. So if you keep the wrist straight, it's a shifting exercise. If you start moving the wrist, it becomes a vibrato exercise. So after you've done a little bit of this, the next step, another strategy you can use, is to plant your hand right here on your instrument. So you want your thumb resting on the saddle where the neck and the body of the instrument meet. And you're going to take your hand and start sliding back and forth like that from the wrist. Okay? So you want to maintain a straight wrist when you start, slide forward and then back, forward and back. So let's do this a little bit together. Okay? Once you've done that, the next step is planting your fingers and continuing the movement that you did before, but just flexing the wrist and letting the fingers roll back and then forward. You see how mine are moving? So if this is difficult and your fingers, they don't want to move, what you can do is you can take, without the instrument at all, and wiggle the joint of your finger like so. Now make sure you're doing this with your left hand, because if you're doing it with the right hand, you're not really going to need to develop vibrato in your right hand. But it's this this first joint on my pinky here, my ring finger here, and so on, that are where the movement of the wrist transfers to the finger. So if this is stiff in any way, it's going to make it really difficult for you to wiggle back and forth. So trying this again, we're back with my hand on the saddle. My fingers are nice and curved. So you can start by sliding the fingers with the movement of the wrist, and the wrist should be resting against the shoulder of the instrument, and then planting the fingers firmly and continuing that movement, but flexing the tips of the fingers like so. Okay, great. So I would start by doing those exercises for at least a couple weeks. Don't try to do this with the bow, because if you played it with the bow, it's not going to sound super great, but you're building the finger strength that you need to actually do vibrato later on. So in the next part of the video, I'm going to show you what are some exercises you can do after you've developed that finger strength. So here's some do's and don'ts for practicing vibrato. The motion of vibrato is forward and back. So you want the movement of your hand to be parallel with the string. Some students, when they start, they like to shake their finger back and forth. It's not a side-to-side motion. It is a forward and backward motion. So up in playing position, here's wrong. I can't control what I'm doing. Here's right. Ooh, look, I'm rotating from the finger joint, just like Miss Fo told me. And my finger's moving forward and backward, forward and backward. Okay? So just keep a close eye on that and make sure you're not wiggling side to side, because that's not vibrato. Sorry. Alright kids, let's assume that you've been practicing the previous exercises for at least a week or so. You've not tried to do anything super fancy with it. You're just building the finger strength, working from the wrist. Now, I'm going to show you some exercises to develop an even sound with the vibrato. So, the first and the easiest one, and this is using the bow, is you're going to go back to the saddle again. It doesn't really matter where you plant your finger. We're going to start with first finger. So we'll say whatever note that is. Don't have perfect pitch. Doesn't really matter. It's okay if yours doesn't match mine. We're going to start here and roll the finger back. and then forward. It's beautiful, I know. And then, so let's say you do that with first finger for a while. Now add second finger. Same thing. You're rolling back from the joints of the finger, just like you practiced before, but now you're doing it with the bow. Then third finger. And fourth finger. This one might be a little bit tricky, but do your best with it. Remember, you can support your pinky finger with your other fingers. So I know, gorgeous. But that's the basic sound and the movement that you want from just rotating the fingers back and forth. And you don't even need to use the bow for this. You could be doing this just like I am without the bow and, you know, save yourself the trouble of listening to it if it's not really pleasing to the ear, and you'll still get the same result. So let's say you've done that a bit and you're ready to take a little faster. So getting back up into position, I'm going to start speeding it up a little. Then in each finger. Okay, now it's important, y'all, that you're not sliding the finger. You're going to get sort of a similar sound, but that's not actually correct. So you want to plant the finger and you're rotating from the tip of the finger, that joint that we were practicing earlier doing this with. That's where the movement's coming, and you're using your wrist to move your finger back and forth like so. Now, let's say you're just like, but I want to learn vibrato. That doesn't sound like vibrato. That sounds like garbage. Yeah, I know, but you know, baby steps. You want to do this right every step of the way. So let's say you're just ready to try that vibrato. So gradually, after speeding it up little by little, you'll get a nice sound. So even though it's quick now, maybe I can do it with this finger, you can see a little bit better. So you still have that movement all along, it's just now sped up. So you can do this with a metronome if you want. Start with a slow tempo and just rotate back and forth and gradually speed it up. Or you can kind of do it on your own like so and then speed it up at your own pace. Okay? Have fun! I would continue practicing up in the saddle like so for at least a couple weeks, because up here, what's nice is that your wrist and your hand are supported by the shoulder of the instrument. So as you're developing this wrist movement that you can see here, you have the support of the body of your instrument to keep it in shape. When you go to first position, you're going to have to make that motion without anything to rest your hand against. So you really want to make sure, while you can, do it while it's easy up here before trying to do it down in first position or any other position. I hope this video helped you and that you are using it to develop a good, solid vibrato sound. I'm excited to hear and see your progress, so keep me updated with how it goes. Bye!